But if they sell us out like sponge cakes, do we really care? Hey, True Blue. I miss our old mate. I miss him a lot. What have we learnt about Anastasia Palaszczuk in 2021? What have we learnt about her? Well, I'll tell you what I've learnt. I've learnt that you can put lipstick on a big fat globalist pig, but there's still a big fat globalist pig. I don't care how you chop and dice it. I don't care what lipstick you put on. She's still a big fat globalist pig.
Look, we'll talk a little bit about where I think we're up to. Look, I'm going to make the assumption that most of the people in this room, because it's the Gold Coast and because you're a switched-on bunch, and I know this, right? I'm going to make an assumption that you're aware of quite a few things, right? Okay, so I don't want to have to spend time just bullshitting on about detail and crap, so I want to get to the point. Look, we're aware that there's a guy called Derek Johnson, American, ex-military, okay? All right. Now, Derek Johnson, an ordinary country and western guy, we won't hold that against him. He's a country and we won't hold that against him, okay? But a country and western guy, military guy, but like Adrian John Wells, has a photographic memory, and knows all about military regulations, how the military operates, what their lawful basis is, and how all this stuff connects. And basically what he's come up with is this. He's laid it out for us. He's laid it all the way out. Back here, he said President Trump has written these executive orders. These executive orders have declared a national emergency, XYZ, blah, blah. And those executive orders force Congress to do certain things by a certain day. And if they didn't do it, then it triggered a military involvement. It triggered a military involvement. And the military would be involved on using these military laws, these military doctrines and protocols, okay? And they would be, according to the military, they would then have to do these things, okay? And he's laid it all out. Then, overlaying on top of that, he said, this is when Trump signed this is the event, this is Biden. I'll give you an example. Biden goes up to be inaugurated and he gets a 7-gun salute, which is a funeral salute. Oh, I said, bloody Derek, you bullshit me. So I dig through my massive files, 500 gigabyte file, I go back to Biden and I counted every cannon shot. I counted them. I said, you bastard, he's right. And he said, Trump got a 21-gun salute, blah, blah. And he said, that means that that's a celebration, that's only reserved for the, the president. And I went back and counted them all. I said, he's right. I said, this bastard's on the ball. This country and western buffet is on the ball. So I started going through double check and trick. I'm not a military person, but I double check. Mate, the guy is on the money. He's on them. He knows what he's talking about. He's had over 1 million views, right? Everything he has said, laid out, has been, and maybe 2 or 3 million by now. And going back a few weeks, he had over 1 million views, interviewed by heaps of alt media, people, and has been pulled apart, unpacked, repacked, everything. And no one has been able to prove that this guy does not know what he's talking about. No one has been able to prove what he's saying is bullshit. It's irrelevant, bullshit, wrong. He hasn't. And anyone that's been through that process, when you have had, people crawl up your ass with a magnifying glass, right? Anyone that's been through that, right, in public life, only to come up empty-handed, you know that this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows. Because the best military, every researcher I know, I worked with a girl from Melbourne called Susie Trudge, Macedonian girl. Man, she's sharp. Brother he's her brother. He's in the Royal Australian Navy, and she knows Navy regs. She knows all this. I asked her to pull it apart. She came back to me 2 weeks later and said, John, it's watertight. It's watertight. And then when you go and listen to what Ricardo and his research is saying, he's saying the same thing. And Ricardo is a military person. You understand? Ricardo understands military protocols, military law, martial law, occupations and so on. Now, I even went as far as only last week I got another document, which is an American Army document about managing counterinsurgencies, stuff like that, and I've even gone through that, and even that reinforces what Derek Johnson is saying. So basically what Derek is saying is, I'm paraphrasing because you all know, most of you know what I'm talking about here. He's saying President Trump has written these executive orders. Congress has to do certain things on a certain day and get back, and if he doesn't, if they don't, then that executive order triggers the military then comes in and then runs this big military operation. And then when you go and look at all the evidence, have the military been running a military? They have been. They've been running one for 2 years. So America, and what Trump has done over there, is they're under a military occupation, right? They're under a continuity of government, martial law, and the military are running America, okay? Full stop, full stop.
Do you believe that the military are actually running a covert operation here in Australia right now?
Just going to get to that right now. Look, let's make this. I asked you this question because that's where I started to say, okay, if I'm confident that the military are doing this in the US, what does that mean for Australia? And I come up with this. Look, one, we all know that Australia is registered on the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. We all know that we are owned by the United States Corporation. You got me? We know this, right? We know that if the US is in this military situation, that it is safe to assume, it's an assumption, but it's safe to assume that we are involved. And the big kicker for me as to say why we are involved is that cross-dressing trainee Alexander Downer. Now Alexander Downer, right, it's all laid out in George Papadopoulos' book. Alexander Downer tried with MI5, MI6, with Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, with ASIO and ACES, tried to usurp the elected President of the United States of America. That is an act of war. That is an act of war. You got me? Got me? If he'd done it as an individual, he would be an insurgent. He'd be like a mercenary of some description. But no. Our government was involved in that, kicking it off. Okay? Our government and our government instrumentalities were involved. In Britain, they were involved. It was an act of war. Okay. Secondly, Australia is owned, right? We're owned, right, by the US. We have Downer and the Turnbull administration, Julie Bishop, and all them idiots committing an act of war. Okay. Is it safe to say that we are involved? Yes, it is. It is. We're involved in this, right? We know my meeting up at the Sunshine Coast yesterday from Darwin, a Darwin lass up there. There's 17 different nations, big massive military operation up there. I know I've got friends out at Amberley who watch the aircrafts out there and so on. There's a lot of troop movement, a lot of mobilisation. This is all pre-positioning, in my opinion, for a military operation to break out. Okay. Now let's have a look at the narrative, the cover story that we're being told about why all this troop build-up is happening. It's a war theme. We've got Russia and China. We've got Russia with Ukraine, threatening nuclear war. threatening ballistic missiles and all this stuff against the West. The West trying to threaten war against Russia. We've got China and Taiwan. We've got massive military build up there, and then in the response to that, you've got all these other countries, NATO, Europe, Australia, all mobilising their militaries. But that is the cover story. That's what they're saying. Okay, that's the cover story why we are doing this military build-up. But I believe that when you look at Derek and listen to Derek and look at the other evidence, okay, I think it's clearly that there's a military build-up in readiness for a military strike to take place to take the cabal, the global cabal down into Look, think about it tactfully, right? If you're going to take down all of these institutions, and you didn't want them running for cover, right, using their courts, their cops, and their machinery to protect them. Think about it. How would you try to bypass that? Well, what you would do is have a national emergency, go on a war footing, and declare martial law. That's what you do, okay? Martial law dominates all this maritime law, common law, administrative law, all gets pushed to the bottom. It becomes irrelevant. Everything gets put on hold, the Constitution and all this stuff. Martial law is supreme.
Yes. Does that mean that the military didn't get the jab? Like, what is that about? Like, how did they not stop that?
No. They've been badly damaged inside of the Australian military, like many others.
Yeah.
And our military and others have been very badly corrupted as well. I think what you've got to understand that inside of the Australian military, the US military and Europe and so on, there was still enough clean, decent people inside of there that were able to be marshalled up and organised, right, to take over and overwhelm those crooks, those Freemasons that are there. You got me? And the other thing, of course, is I think that the military intelligence, they've got all the dirt on these corrupt military brass. They've got the dirt on them. And if they don't do what they're told, then, they'll give it to the peppy frogs, they'll give it to big fat Jono, Commo John. Oh, what a dream. What a dream. But, and I think they've been pulled into gear. They'll do what they're told. You've got to remember this plan that's going on here has been going on since the 60s. Okay, this is a JFK, back in the JFK. This is how long this has been put together. So they've got the dirt on a lot of them. They know who they can trust and who they can't. Yes, the Australian. I've got a good friend of mine now, right, Nathan. He's been to one of these meetings. He's up at Green Slopes right now on suicide watch, and that's all the result of the vaccination. I mean, I've another friend of mine, American F-18 fighter pilot, who he told me what they did over in the first Gulf War. They gave them all vaxes, and it was a killer vax. A lot of them died, but they learned from that because it became so obvious. So they developed a second vax for the Iraqi Gulf War that after 18 months it triggered a suicidal response. So they went over fought, they came back, and then there was 10 or 15,000 Marines just went and blew their heads off, and then they stood back and said, "Oh, it's Gulf War syndrome. It's Gulf War syndrome." It wasn't. It was the vaxes, mass suicides, the vaxes. And my good mate Nathan, I'm telling you now, 20 years in the Army, 5 years in the Navy, he was one of the guys that saved me up here in the Brisbane River. I mean, he's a real brother and a real patriot. Sitting in the Green Slopes right now, mate, on suicide watch because of this vax. That's why I know. I wouldn't have known this, but my American fighter pilot friend has worded me up. But there's a lot of people. Look, if there's any group of Australians that have been betrayed here, it's our military. I mean, fancy laying your life on the line to be stabbed in the back like that, poisoned deliberately. And that's all part of weakening our military capabilities. The UN, World Economic Forum, China, that's shit. But I think we're in. I think their triggers are there, and I think the evidence says that. That's what I believe. I think the cover story is now growing. Okay, war footing. I can see it happening. I can see lots of military build-up, and I think we're getting close for the military to be for martial law to be declared. Once martial law is declared, all civilian institutions, all their courts, all their cops, all their government machinery is just swept to one side, and the military run everything. You got me? And I think at that stage you're going to see a lot of these criminals rounded up, and they won't be going through civilians. Now, look, you can be of two paradigms here, one of two, right? And I get this, I truly do. You could be a prepper, right? We're at the end of the world. We're at the end of the world, right? The whole world is ending. We're gonna all go into this, zombie apocalypse and all this sort of stuff, and prepare and all that sort of stuff, and get out in the bush and blah blah blah. When you look at the evidence on face value, right, you can be forgiven for thinking that, because at the moment things are pretty crazy. I mean, you are seeing a lot of zombies and all sorts of shit going on. But if you know, and this is where the Q movement stuff comes in, because, and again, it's pointed, we've all been laughed at before, and so it doesn't worry me. I've had people like, oh, you're a Q card. I'll laugh at them. I'll just like, piss off. Yeah, piss off. But the Q stuff is a back channel military communication. That's what it is. It's a back channel. It's a mosaic. It's cryptic and that, yes. It forces you to do some very hard research, yes. But it points you in the right direction, and it confirms things. It confirms things. Once you go and do this research and you get to a certain conclusion, then that Q post, that Q thing, confirms what you're saying is right. Now, the back channel, and if you're aware of this stuff, right, and you can see past the optics, right, if you can see past the optics, because what we're looking at a lot are military optics. That's what you're looking at, okay? If you can see past the optics, you now know that this is not the end of the world.
There's two things that I know quite well in my years that I've learned. One is I know the Australian trade union movement. I have been an insider at the upper echelons. Rest assured, I was a big dick swinger when I was a young man in the thing. I used to have 10 inches in an inch, 10 inches in a wrinkle. Now I've got 10 wrinkles in an inch. But if you give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile. We live in dangerous times. We live in dangerous times. I myself face 3 years in jail. I've got to face a trial on the 29th of this month in the Cleveland Magistrates Court. I've been criminally charged, and I'm looking down the barrel of 3 years jail. I've been charged in a politically motivated charge by the Commonwealth Department of Prosecutions and the Queensland Police, all political, and I've been charged at the urging of the Victorian Satan's helper, Fiona Patton.
Oh, that bitch!
So we live in dangerous times, and we're all taking risks. We're all taking risks. I get that. I truly get it. But I don't care. I just don't care.
There is a huge bucket of evidence, absolute undeniable evidence, that the current financial system is on the brink of being collapsed. Okay, it's being collapsed. But we can also see the migration of financial assets, right, being migrated onto and over to the new quantum financial system. We can see this. Like as an example, now you buy a BHP share, right? You want to slice the action of BHP, you go and buy a share. Well, BHP, and again, I'm using this example, all of their assets are being migrated to the quantum financial system, where you won't be buying and owning a share. What you will be doing is you will be buying a BHP token. Okay, they call them tokens. Okay, one of my friends, Whiplash, Aussie guy, Whiplash 347 on Telegram, 300,000 plus subscribers, and his research is reposted by some of the biggest alt media people out in the world. Well, he's my mate. And I'll tell you about my Commander Mark McConnell, mate. Well, it's not what you know, too, you know. Whiplash is a good lad, mate. And again, another Maddie. Another Maddie, right? Okay, Whiplash has laid all of this out. Like Derek Johnson, he's laid it all out. He's put the proof and the evidence and said, look, this is how it's going to go. We are seeing this migration of financial wealth, financial assets going across to the quantum financial system, and we are seeing the existing financial system being collapsed. The banks are just about gone. Bond market, share market, currencies. I mean, look at how they're spending these currencies, man. You know, it's never going to be repaid. They're spending the Australian dollar into oblivion. Same as the US. I mean, the US, we got to give another $80 billion to the gay dancer in Ukraine. You know, I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, who does that? Who does it? What they're doing is they're emptying the system. Okay, while it still has any value, they're emptying the system, ploughing it all over to Ukraine. They then recycle, launder the money, and send most of it back to the Democrats and their corrupt mafiosa and so on and so on. Right? So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the existing system right now collapsing, and it's not going to last much longer. It's in the process of collapse. Not going to. It is collapsing. Now, how far along it's going to still stay on its feet? Maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. This is all an events-driven. The timing I'm talking. This is all an events-driven plan. Okay. This part can't be done until this part is complete. Once this part's complete, then we can trigger this. Once that's done, then we can trigger this. If this one takes a bit longer, then that's going to mean we've got to wait longer to do this. That's why people say, when are they going to bloody have it, blah, 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 blah. It's not, there is no absolute deadlines to this. It's an event-driven process. You got me? And people say, why is it taking so long? Well, I'll tell you why. The Australian people and the American people and the Europe are so stupid. They're so dumb. And it's taking longer to wake them up. And look, if we were on the ball and this country was all switched on, this would have been done and dusted by now. We would have our country back and we would be on the ascendancy cleaning the shit show up. But you've still got all these people there. Now, I don't want to call them sheep, man, I don't, because I don't think of them like that. But they are fucking dumb. I mean, in the truth movement, about some of our glamour celebrity freedom fighters, I call them merino sheep. Okay, the wool is a bit better, but they're still fucking sheep. They're still sheep. Okay. So whether you're a mutton chop sheep or whether you're a superfine merino sheep, you're still a bloody sheep. You got me? And that's what's taking it so long. That's why it's taking so long. Okay. Now, if the public isn't warmed up to this, you've got to understand. If the public is not warmed up, if we don't have enough of us in there to keep this under control, you got me. This is our role. This is our role. Our role as the light bearers, as my other friends would say, my hippie friend, you light bearer. I said, wow, I got a red light. But as a little light bearer, I won't have an indignant because I love all these people. They're kooks, man, but they're my friends. They're my friends. But our role is to try and give a bit of guidance and reassurance, and if we don't hear, if they're not warmed up to this, a lot of people are going to get killed, hurt, and maimed. Okay, they'll panic. They will panic, mate. And you know how many people out there don't know. Have a look at how many lined up to get injections. There's just too many of them. So, you know, it's taken a long while. It's been hard work. If you want to know why they're not waking up quicker, go to the freedom movement. That's your problem. That's your all these fucking gatekeepers. All these Dave O'Neills and fucking Trickies and Hoodies and all these other wankers out there. They aren't waking anyone up. They're gatekeepers. They're gatekeepers. They keep cross-interviewing each other, promoting each other. They're all part of the one club and we ain't in it.
That's right.
They don't... Look, Onyx put a post up yesterday and had a look at it. And it was quite a detailed post, but he said on Telegram, it said, I'm not having any discussion in my forums about Jews. It's a divisive and horrible subject, brings out the worst bloody thing, blah, 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 blah. And anyone talks about the Jews is out. And I'm sitting back saying, wow, that means we can't talk about the world porn industry which they run. We can't talk about, you know, the live organ harvesting industry that they run. We can't talk about, you know, all this other shit that they run, the anti-defamation leagues and all the other censorship shit. That means all of that can't be talked about. You have 60,000 subscribers which are denied any chance of discussing it or listening even to it. They're just listening in. You got me? Now what does that say? He's a fucking gatekeeper. He's a fucking gatekeeper. Come and talk to the Commo, mate. I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about Dan Andrews' tranny wife, baby. I'll talk about anything. Nothing scares me. You got me? And all these other gatekeepers, have a listen to Hoodie, all the rest of them, man, they're all the same. They're all part of the club. Onyx took two people. This is a freedom fighter, mate. Freedom took two people using donated money down into court and got 2 AVOs, apprehended violence orders against people allegedly for stalking him. You got look at this other pissant Tricky. He can't walk anywhere unless he's got 6 security people. Hey? I mean, I have held the most heavyweight controversial positions in this country and never have I walked around with security. Never needed it. Never. You got me?
Yep.
If you're gonna carry on like an idiot, you only need that if you've got something to hide. And that's what's going on here. Your donations are paying for a private protection racket. Right? I'm not having a go at the guys who are working in that security detail. I'm not. I mean, that's just a job for them, right? So I'm not having a crack at them. But you have a look at it. Ask yourself the question. Look, a year or two ago, it was sort of hard to pick that, but enough water's gone under the bridge now. You can see the form. You can now see it, what's going on. Okay? Now, if you want to know why the people aren't waking up fast enough, it's your gatekeepers. It's your gate. Look, every week, each single freedom fighter should be able to recruit 1 or 2 more people every week, right? And if that's all we did. So if you started with 100,000 freedom fighters, you go to 300 or 400, 3 or 4 turns into 5 or 6. You know what I mean? So after 12 months, you go from 100,000 to 3 or 4 million. You know what I mean? That's how the growth goes. You know what I mean? And this has been nipped. It's been cut off. It's been shortened. Okay? And then they're convincing them, you're now red pill. And they're not. They're not. They don't know a fraction of what they need to know. They never say the Lord's Prayer at any one of their meetings. You ever been to any of their rallies where they've ever said the Lord's Prayer? I mean, I'm an old communist. I had to Google the frigging Lord's Prayer. I didn't know it. But I went up, I went up to Majimba, 100 Sunshine Coast people, and I said, listen, I think we should say the Lord's Prayer. And everyone there said, yeah, look, that's right. you know, I'm an old com, I mean, you know, but I understand it's a spiritual war. So I got up there, I only got halfway through before I forgot the rest of it, but they all chimed in and finished it off and helped me out. But have you ever been to a Brisbane rally when they say the Lord's Prayer? You ever been to, and again, who was the only one that does it? It's Bosie. Serious. He's the only one on every public appearance who says the Lord's Prayer. I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, look for the details. Look, take note of this stuff. Again, I'm not here to smear. I mean, this drains my battery even talking about this stuff. It does. It drains my battery. I don't like. But someone has to start talking about this. Someone. And that's me. And if I'm going to call Dan Andrews' wife a tranny, man, you can bet I'll call bloody Tricky and his perm hair and Mac and his Freemasonic shit and all the rest of them out. I'll call them out, mate, and let them try and have a go at this old fella, man. I tell you, I'll eat them for fucking breakfast. Okay, so we have this military operation. We're now getting close. There's a cover story building war. We're going to go into a war footing. This war footing is going to justify a military intervention. Martial law will be declared. It's a smart move. Yeah. How do you pull the rug right out of these Freemasons? How do you declare martial law? You declare all their control institutions, their cops, their courts, their parliamentarians, all their banks and all the rest of it, mate, all get subsumed, pushed to the bottom, and the military reign supreme. Now again, you could have two frames of mind. You could think this is the end of the world and they're all United Nations troops and Chinese and blue helmets and all that. You could think like that, and I totally understand it, because on face value, that's what it looks like. But it's not what is real. That's not real. That's just the cover story. I'm going to try and wind up a little bit. People have asked me, what should we do, blah, blah, blah. You know, all this. Look, protesting and all that now, right, too late. It's too late. I mean, I said 2 years ago when the cops were bashing everybody and all these wanker celebrity freedom fighters was, let's march to the War Memorial and Parliament and all that. I said, listen, you wankers, they're ready for you. You're going to wipe this out. I said, what you've got to do is you've got to again, you know, you're looking at martial law, civilian law. I said, you've got to take it from the land to the water. You've got to do a boat protest. I said, down here in the Gold Coast, mate, everyone's got a boat. You get 500-600 boats, all banners, all that sort of stuff. They've only got 3 or 4 water police boats. What are they going to do? 3 or 4 water police boats and 500, fast-moving protester boats? What are they going to do? They can't do anything. You've got the Brisbane River, you've got, Noosa, you've got bloody, Mooloolaba River up there, Maroochy. You can run boat press. You can go down to Sydney Harbour, down in Melbourne where they're shooting bullets in your face and all that. We're still ready for you, right? You can't match their force with our force. They have that market cornered. Again, check the definitions. Go and do this Google. There's a big difference between power and force. They ain't the same. Force will drain it, so it costs you energy just to have it there. Right? Just to have it there. It costs you money, time, energy. If you want to build a big police force and keep it ready, it costs just to have it there. Okay? But force is when one object clashes with another, strikes. And when it hits and strikes, that's what force is. 2 objects coming in. Power is like electricity. Power is seamless. It runs. It's in a system. It runs free. And you build power not by more force. You build power by adding voltage, by adding your what. So I've never said vote for Ricardo Bossi. I've never said that. I've said give him your power, give him your voltage. so that he can walk in the room and in his back pocket he's got 600,000 volts and he can stick it up the deep state's ass and smoke them. That's what you need to do, right? You don't need the force. You can't, you cannot. The cops, the World Economic Forum, they own that. That's theirs. We can't match it. We can't match it. We got to build power, not force. Okay? You've got to, in my view, if any protesting, and I think it's gone, finished. I think the time for protesting is now over, right? I've said earlier on, and I said all to the celebrity freedom fighters, I said take your protest from land, right, over to water, do boat protests, stuff like that. And what do? They lead them straight into the war memorials, straight into Parliament, where the cops have been rehearsing for 2 years on how to smash us to pieces. Never once in Brisbane or Sydney have they ever marched up to a Freemasonic lodge. You ever seen them walk up there and stack it on outside of that? Have you ever seen them walk up and stack it on outside of Queensland Trades Hall Council and the unions? Yeah? No. They keep leading them down the same path. And to get belted, right, or to be contained. Alright, so protesting, in my view, right, I don't think it's any good. And I also say, I am not going to any protest to beg some bastard to give me an extra 2 or 3 foot of chain. I'm not. I'm in this war to win it. And if I friggin' win it, mate, I'm going to take everything that's owed to me back. The lot. Now, I think there's only 3 things. There's 2 things, I think, that everything else should be put to one side. I know there's lots of worthy stuff out there, but there's 2 things. One is election fraud, right? One is election fraud. We now know with absolute certainty, up here in Queensland, there's the Queensland Electoral Commission contracted out on a contract to a company called Connect, K-O-N-N-E-C-H, is owned by an American-Chinese guy called Eugene Yu, okay, an American-Chinese from Michigan, right, and they contracted out to an election management system of this company, which is based in Wuhan, China. Okay? So all of our election roll, all of your details, even yours, and they hate you, they don't like you, everything is sitting on a Chinese server inside of Wuhan. Okay? And all of the software code is written by Chinese communist software engineers. So they do all of the election management, but they also do the count. They do the count. So they count their votes. They do the aggregate. You can't vote this big fat pig with lipstick out. You can't do it. You can't do it. They're rotten to the core. You can't do it, man. You're finished. And anyone saying, I'm going to start another political party and we're going to stand for... piss off. Piss off. Election fraud, number 1. And number 2, we've got to call upon the Australian military to intervene. They're the 2 things. But we should be out in front of Another Army Barracks, Gallipoli Barracks, and any other target that we see. If you're up in Townsville outside of Laverak Barracks. But we should be out there calling upon the Australian Armed Services, knowing that the brass are wrong, but also knowing that they've got a gun pointed at their head and they don't play the game. Now, this is a symbolic move. It's not going to force the army or not force, it's all symbolic. But in this context, it is a massive symbolic move. It's massive. It's got a huge message. Look, if you want to know how this is going to unfold, have a look at Brazil, Bolsonaro and Brazil, because I think that's the blueprint. That's what I think. Again, what would I know? But that's the blueprint, where the people form a magnificent partnership, never been done before, directly with the military to overthrow the political class, okay, and the judicial class. Throw them out. So the military and the people, that one arm of government, the military, throws the other two arms of government, judicial and political, and overthrows them and jails them and deals with them, and then they get their country back. And that's what we should be doing, and that's what I set up here at the Sunshine Coast. I'm not a leader. I'm not leading anyone. I don't even like half the people in this movement, and the other half don't like me. But will I fight for this? Yes, I will. Now, I said this to the people on the Sunshine Coast, and we had 100 people in. These are all the activists, mate. This is not just the rank volleys, the opinion makers up on the Sunshine Coast. I had a phone call late last night. They've already met separately after. They're going to do it. They're now getting organisers to hit the Gallipoli Barracks in Mitchelton and Opera, and they're going to stack it on. And they want me to participate, and I am. Okay? Now, if this does get mobilised and does go, I would just simply say to you, if you're going to do anything to put the pressure on the political class and these cops and all these bastards, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. They will freak out. They will freak out if they have, just saying, 100,000 people outside the military saying, the politics, the cops, the courts, all these grubs, we have no faith. We've lost confidence in the lot. We want the military to step in with the people and clean this shit up. They'll go to war. They'll go to war. Now, this is going to happen, and I couldn't give a shit if one of you. I don't care. I don't care if you come or not. I don't care if you support, but I am. They've asked me, and they said, look, there's 20 of us, and we're willing to have a go. And I said, I don't care if there's 3 of you. If there's 3 of you who want to have a go, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll stick my neck out, okay, and I'll give it a go. Now, I'm hoping that this goes like Canberra. I'm hoping it starts off with a few nutcases, a few game little roosters. Most of them are women up there. It's the women have been running this war. The women have been, most of the buffy blokes out there have just been useless. It's the women, mate. The women. I take my hat off to you girls. But if this catches fire, right, and there's nowhere else to go, I'm telling you, we have no other option but the military. I'm telling you, there's no courts. There's no all this bullshit from Cullerton about privy councils and the. I mean, piss off. Piss off. They're part of the planning to murder us, and we're going to beg them, please. I mean, serious. How fucking retarded can you be? This is their retarded thinking. And I go up there yesterday, and a couple of the people up at Sunshine Coast said to me, well, Lance Brown from TAP was up here, and he's flagged with us rolling this option where, backed by a lawyer, of course, some Greek lawyer, Spiro or something. I said, oh God, we got a lawyer involved from the Australian Bar Association. My God. He said, and the game plan is we're going to stop paying our rates. And I said, are you kidding me? That's your game plan. That's your strike weapon, is it? I said, they're all being funded, all these councils, they're all being funded with hundreds of millions of dollars directly from Davos, directly from the World Economic Forum. Do you think they care about your rates? And how long do you think this is going to go on for? You know? So I'm telling you, I'm shaking my head, mate. Now, I don't know whether Lance and his brother are doing this for some joke, or I don't know whether they're deliberately leading people up the garden. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But I'll tell you what a piss-head, stupid idea that is. You got me? We need the military. We need big, buffy boys with high-caliber weapons, man, fully automatic and ready to use them on our behalf. That's what we need. So, I'm saying, election fraud, wrap your head around it, that's the trigger, right? Even the normies get that. Even the normies get that, okay? Election fraud, shitloads of it, you can't vote them out, you can't. All of our stuff is all in China, in Queensland. I'm telling you, what a fucking racket this is, mate. That's why they don't care what we think. They don't care. They don't care. Because they've stitched it up. They own the game, we're in a club. We ain't in it. You got election fraud and then military involvement, right? Okay, military involvement, again, is symbolic. It's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway, mate. It is. People are saying, when are the military going to come in? We're sick and tired of waiting. Well, I think the military are ready to come in. They're waiting for us to call them in. They're waiting for us. So, if you want my advice, if you want to do something revolutionary, if you want to do something radical, if you want to do something to put the fear of God, mate, in the political class, into the judicial class, and to all these stick and drug fuck cops, mate, that's the way to do it. Thank you.
I want to say this about petitions, okay? I've been getting a lot of petitions recently, okay? People wanting me to sign a petition. Now, let me say, stop it. Stop sending me petitions, because I am not begging my political masters, I am not begging them for another couple of foot of chain. I am not doing it. I am not begging them to loosen the collar around my neck by a couple of notches. I want to expose them all. I want to expose them all and take them all down. I want them clean out. I want them out. The lot of them. The lot of them. There's an unholy alliance. There's an unholy alliance in this country between some evil, evil parties, I can tell you. And you can't negotiate with evil. You've got to defeat it. You've got to defeat it. Now is the time. Now is the time to take off these bloody masks and put the full armour of God on. The full armour of God, and go to war. We go to war. We defeat them. They ain't going to give it to us. We're going to take it off them. We're going to take it off them. Put the full armour of God on and take it off them. Thank you.